This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How are we doing on this Friday, this Black Friday edition of the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. I am Joe Gaither. You are the listener, the viewer, watching us on the BamaCentral YouTube channel or checking us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Amazon. We appreciate everybody doing that. Subscribe, rating, reviewing the show on your favorite platform. Telling somebody about the show, telling a friend about the show as we get into the weekend. And it's going to be a huge, huge weekend of Alabama athletics. Oh my goodness. If you weren't excited for the Iron Bowl, then I don't think you have a pulse. But the Iron Bowl on Saturday at 2:30, and then Alabama basketball taking on the Oregon Ducks for $1.5 million on Saturday night at 8:30. So going to be a huge weekend of Alabama athletics. We will get into it with my friend Mason Woods. You can follow him at MA Woods on the Twitter machine, MA Woods _ on the Twitter machine for all of his takes, all his discussions on the Crimson Tide, all of his recruiting updates. Mason Woods was very busy last night making sure that all the Walsh Writing Network sites got their recruiting updates. Alabama's will be up in just a few hours on BamaCentral.com. You've got Missouri's, Miami's, Boston Colleges, and more. If you want to keep up with all things recruiting, you can follow Mason Woods. Mason, what's good, man? How's your day going? I know you were up late last night. What were you writing with a turkey sandwich at your desk? Oh, no. See, we just had it. Yep, we had it and we lost it. So maybe do that same process that you did over again, but that's okay. Mason is in the studio. I am in Chattanooga. I am in Chattanooga because I'm with the family, and I hope that you guys did go and enjoy your family as well, as it's Thanksgiving week. I'll be obviously hitting the road here in just a couple hours to get back to Tuscaloosa to enjoy the Iron Bowl. Well, maybe enjoy the Iron Bowl. I, for one, am quite concerned. Alabama enters the Iron Bowl as an 11 and a half point favorite. Let me make sure that number is correct. I think it's right at double digits for Alabama and Auburn tomorrow, right there. Thank you. Yeah, 11 and a half point favorite. And I think that Alabama is going to be in a lot of trouble. Not necessarily that they're in any sort of blowout territory, but we have come to the end of the season. It's the season finale. It's the last game of the year, and you've got two programs who are in very, very different positions. Auburn, fighting for bowl eligibility, basically has everything to play for. If they win, they go to a bowl. They went to the Music City Bowl last year. It'll be 3 bowl games in a row after missing the postseason under Brian Harsin. So they have a lot to play for. And obviously, breaking a 5-year streak against the Alabama Crimson Tide just serves as even more motivator. Alabama really has a lot to play for as well. But you say that and you think back to last week where Alabama had even more to play for, going out to Oklahoma, really sitting in great position for their playoff hopes, laid an absolute egg. Now, lots of other teams lost this past Saturday, so Alabama's still not out of the race. There's still everything to play for this weekend against the Auburn Tigers, but I just don't know if I can trust the Crimson Tide, if I can trust the Crimson Tide to perform, to play up to speed, to play to the Bama standard, to play to what they are capable of playing to. Because this past Saturday against the Oklahoma Sooners, with everything to play for, they absolutely fell short of the standard. They absolutely had so many execution errors. They had so many energy issues. They weren't really engaged to play well against the Oklahoma Sooners. So with that, you've got that's fun. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I thought we were going with the laptop. That's what I thought we were going with the first time. Yeah, no problem. So Mason's about to jump back in with us. He's all good. He's almost back set. I'm going to give him about 10 more seconds to kind of make sure it's all settled before we try him again. But you look at this weekend and you think, of course, Alabama, you should be playing hard. You should be playing hard. You should be going all out, everything to play for. But then you juxtapose it to what happened last week, where it was the exact same situation, but maybe even more. I just don't know if I can trust this Alabama Crimson Tide team. Mason Woods, you follow him on the Twitter machine at @MAWoods_. You back with us? Did you write your recruiting rundowns with a turkey sandwich at your desk? I can see you. You can hear me, but nothing's coming through on your end right there. Maybe double check your settings on the audio output there as we keep working with Mason Woods. Seems like this is the second time I have gone out of town and tried to do a show with Mason, and we just cannot quite get it right. But that's okay. Third time will be the charm.
Have you got me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. All right. Third
Say
time's
hello to
a
the
charm.
people.
Fifth time's a charm. Sixth time's a charm. Something to do with these shows. We can't get our technology cooperating with us. Okay, so you asked me, can we trust this Alabama team? You asked me about the recruiting rundown last night. First, no, we cannot trust this Alabama team. They showed us that last week. Sorry, I do not trust them any longer. And as far as recruiting goes, what I thought or what I kind of expected to be a relatively slow week, being Thanksgiving week, wound up being pretty busy on a lot of fronts. A lot of things happening for Alabama. You flip you flip a player from Michigan State this week, 3-star running back Jace Clarizio, and then you land another 2027 prospect, Alexander Ward. It lists as an athlete, plays both ways. Not really sure where he's going to line up. I think he was asked after he committed. It was on a 247 or an On3 live stream that he committed, and they asked him where he wants to play, what side of the ball he's going to play, and he just said both. So we'll see what he does.
We see Travis Hunter playing both sides of the ball in the Big 12. And my first thought is, okay, that's the Big 12, but maybe Travis Hunter is just that special. Do you think we'll see a day or see an athlete that special that can play both sides of the ball in the SEC?
It would certainly be hard. I'm not going to rule it out because, I didn't think we'd see Travis Hunter, and here he is in front of us every Saturday. So I won't rule it out, but that's going to be one of those things where I will have to see it to believe it.
All right, so we're hanging out with Mason Woods, and we finally got rolling here on a Football Friday. It's the season finale. Oh, my gosh, the season finale. The season has flown by, and unfortunately for the Crimson Tide, there will be no SEC championship game appearance after last weekend's debacle. And we spent a lot of time this week talking about last weekend's letdown in Norman. You can find that on all the podcast platforms and all the YouTube platforms where you find the Joe Gaither Show if you want to hear those conversations. We've got to move on and get you ready for the Iron Bowl. So, Mason, each week for BamaCentral, I am tasked with looking at the opponent and trying to find, trying to figure out what might give Alabama trouble, what might kind of be a problem schematically for Alabama. And I had a really hard time yesterday, really hard time, because my first thought was, Jarquez Hunter, you're just going to give him the football about 80,000 times and see how many yards he can get. And that would be my first thought if I'm the Auburn Tigers. But I couldn't go in that direction because our friend Hunter DeCiver, rightfully so, didn't do anything wrong. Absolutely didn't do anything wrong. Hunter DeCiver wrote about Christian Robinson, Alabama's outside linebacker, Alabama's Wolf coach, Christian Robinson, calling Jarquez Hunter the best running back we have seen this year. He wrote that on Wednesday, on Thursday. So that was already out on our website. I really didn't want to double dip in that category, but I just want to start right there with Jarquez Hunter. If Jarquez Hunter, is Christian Robinson just blowing smoke because it's the next opponent, or is he a better running back than Xavier Robinson from Oklahoma, a better running back than Cedric Alexander from Vanderbilt, a better running back than Dylan Sampson from Tennessee, a better running back than Rocket Sanders from South Carolina, a better running back than Shezma Lucy from Wisconsin? Is Jarquez Hunter the best running back Alabama will have seen this year?
I think so. You listed off a talented group there that Alabama has faced up to this point, but you just look at what Jarquez Hunter has done when Auburn gives him those opportunities to just absolutely eat. They give him 35 carries a game. He takes full advantage of it. So I definitely think he he certainly poses a unique threat maybe that Alabama. I mean, obviously they played some good running backs. They've not played well against some good running backs, but this guy I think is even better than some of the people they've played. So yeah, Bama has this is a full plate ahead of them. They've got to they got a lot to defend here with Jarquez Hunter. I think he is a type of back where it maybe takes him a little bit to get going, but they have shown us throughout this season that Auburn will get him going.
Exactly. Everything that we've been complaining about from the Alabama perspective about committing to the running game and kind of working through those early downs where the gains aren't quite there. Auburn has done it all year long. You look at Jarquez Hunter, 28 carries last week for 130 and 3 touchdowns against A&M, 14, 12, 23, 19 carries, 13 carries, 17, 12, 20 carries, 12, and 4. So obviously we're not giving a whole lot of carries against Alabama A&M in that opener, 4 carries. But every game since then, he's been double digits. And really his lowest mark is just 12. So he's got, 20, 23. So 3 games over 20 carries or more. He is the engine and the catalyst of this offense.
Absolutely. This Auburn offense begins and ends with Jarquez Hunter. Peyton Thorne can do some things with his legs. He has shown us that. And, when he's on, he plays pretty decent, but there's always kind of just that, he might throw a back-breaking interception at any given moment. Jarquez Hunter does not do that. He's going to make the right play 9 times out of 10, probably 10 times out of 10.
And so that keeps me going on my project last night. What am I going to highlight? What am I going to do? I've got to figure out something because there's obviously more ways that Auburn can get after Alabama than just turning around and hand it to Jarquez Hunter 70 times. And so I started thinking, I'm like, what are we doing here, Joe? What are we going to highlight? And I thought, well, what's Hugh Freeze doing this week, Mason? What's he doing last week? Obviously, haphazardly preparing for Texas A&M and pulling out the victory. Congratulations for that. But I thought, if I'm Hugh Freeze and I'm playing Alabama, the first thing that I'm going to look at is the last 2 times that I beat Alabama. 2014 and 2015, Alabama plays Ole Miss, not Auburn, plays Ole Miss in Oxford and in Tuscaloosa. And some of the weirdest games in the Saban era, those 2 losses. And really, I would contend one of the luckiest plays in college football, really, in my memory. The 3rd and 1 snaps over Chad Kelly's hands, throws it down the field, like 20 yards down the field. Ball gets tipped up from Minka Fitzpatrick into an Ole Miss player's hands, and he goes 60 yards down the field for a touchdown. Like, that was some wild stuff that happened in these games. But I thought to myself, Hugh Freeze is certainly studying these games. He's looking at last year's Alabama-Auburn game where Alabama pulled the Gravedigger out of their rear end, and Peyton Thorne really actually had a pretty decent game. I bet you if I were Hugh Freeze, I would start with these 3 games and combine them with Alabama's 3 losses: Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Tennessee. And I thought, okay, if I were a coach, that's where I'd start my game plan. And of course, everything that we just said about Jarquez Hunter remains to be true. And I think that Jarquez Hunter will be a huge part of this game plan. Mason, I want to ask you about stopping the quarterback run. Last year, Peyton Thorne, 15 carries for 57 yards. He took the most carries for Auburn. 15 carries, 57 yards, no touchdowns. Okay. He had 1 touchdown pass and 2 interceptions, both of them. One was at the end of the first half, one at the end of the game as they're trying to score with no time. Okay. Mm-hmm. I think that really the game for Alabama will come down to, can you stop the changeup? Can you stop the curveball? You're going to get Jarquez Hunter fastball right down the pipe, and we're going to try to overwhelm you with 97 miles an hour over and over and over. And I wonder and I worry about Alabama hitting the changeup, hitting the curveball defensively when we have made you tired of Jarquez Hunter, and now we will pull the ball out and run Peyton Thorne, and up on a crucial down, maybe it's 3rd and 6, maybe it's 3rd and 5, boom, Peyton Thorne runs for 12 yards. And it's not going to be a back-breaking run. It's not going to be he just had a 70-yarder for a touchdown. He's not that runner. but I think he is very Jackson Arnold-esque. And I'll be able to find myself 6 yards. I'll be able to find myself 15 yards. If you leave it open, I'll take it for there. So I'm worried and concerned from what we have seen all year long, 11 games out of Alabama, playing 11 different offenses. I think they'll be able to stop the fastball pretty decently through the game. Of course, Jarquez will get his yards, but it's the curveball. It's the, pull it out, quarterback read, Peyton Thorne, quarterback draw. You saw a lot of quarterback draw last year, Alabama-Auburn. You saw a lot of quarterback draw in 2014, Ole Miss and Alabama. I think that Bo Wallace had 11 carries for about 40 yards or so. So it's not that Hugh Freeze is going to use the quarterback all the time.
Mm-hmm. But just pepper it in.
Yes.
That man, I share your concern. I think you just have to look at what Jackson Arnold did to this defense last week, and he absolutely picked them apart on the ground. He basically went wherever he wanted, whenever he wanted. So, I would imagine that's been is a big point of focus, big point of emphasis this week is stopping the quarterback run because. Like you said, if you're Alabama, you know that Jarquez Hunter's getting his touches. This is something we know. Auburn is not going to come into this game with some insane off-the-walls game plan where it's, we're going to line up Jarquez Hunter outside and throw him passes. Like, Jarquez Hunter's going to get, probably 12 to 15 touches at least, just running the ball. So that's going to happen. But then I think you really have to focus on, okay, every third, fourth run, what's Peyton Thorne going to do? Is that gonna be the play where he decides to pull and try to bump it outside? Is that gonna be the play where, they fake to Jarquez and he run? It's just you have to. I think that has to be a massive point of emphasis this week, and hopefully it is. But I still worry about it because you're playing Oklahoma last week. I mean, this second to last game of the season. Why had you not focused on defending a quarterback run yet? So I don't know. It still worries me about this defense. I still think that's a place to be concerned. I don't know. I do think, like you said, I think they will be able to at least limit Jarquez Hunter. You're not going to stop him from getting his yardage. You're not going to stop him from potentially scoring a touchdown right there if they get down to the goal line or something. But they can probably limit him from being the thing that beats them. What maybe would beat them is Peyton Thorne. And that feels crazy to say, but here we are.
Well, the reason why yes, on the surface, it does feel crazy to say, but I think that you can look at last year's game. He completed 5 passes. I think it was 5 of 17 last year is what I had written down from last night. I think he completed 5 passes. And then you look at last week's game with Oklahoma. Jackson Arnold, was he like 6 of 11? He didn't complete that many passes. So it's not like these teams are, hey, we got to get down the field vertically on Alabama. No, it's just we got to be patient and physical. And as we talked about on Monday, Tuesday, that takes no talent. And so I think that is a huge concern for Alabama this week.
This is a weird spot that Alabama's in. I feel like this is, at least in the time I have paid attention to Alabama, it's kind of always been the other way around, where Alabama does struggle with those explosive teams, those teams that can get vertical on them and stretch the field and run things quickly. But now it's kind of the other way around. Alabama played pretty decent against these explosive offensive teams, but then the teams that want to just grind it out and play down in the mud, they struggle with. It's very interesting. I don't know if that's I don't want to say that's a reflection of the coaching staff because
it is.
It's been 1 year, but it might be.
It is for now. I mean, now that can change. It's not but yeah, we are 11 games in, and we can see what it has been. And Alabama, a couple of times this year, has looked not necessarily ready to play. And so, look, this weekend, before I get to all right, I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to ask you just schematically, before I get into just who wants it more, that sort of thing, who hates harder, that sort of thing. Over under, as we're talking about schematics on offense, over under 3.5 shovel passes to Rivaldo Fairweather, the tight end for Auburn. Is he getting over or under 3.5?
It feels like maybe that's I don't know. It feels like a trap almost. It's like this is what they should do, and I feel like maybe Alabama knows that's what they should do against them, and then Auburn knows that Alabama knows that
Yeah.
I'll take the under just because I'm probably overthinking it, but
It's probably going to hit right at 3, so I think under is probably the play. But I'm with you there. Yeah, I think Auburn's like, yeah, surely they have worked on defending the shovel pass, but that's been like every week since the Vanderbilt game, and every week it comes back out in the game plan, and every week Alabama gets burned for 4 to 6 to 8 or more yards.
Yeah. I would think you see it, probably at least a couple times just to test it out, see how it works.
It's probably in that opening script, that first 15 plays. You're going to get one to Rivaldo Fairweather.
Break it off for about 15, and there we go.
The last thing schematically I want to talk about before we get into motivational issues is when I was watching 2014 and 2015 Ole Miss against Alabama, upsetting the Crimson Tide 2 years in a row, I noticed one player on the Ole Miss Rebels that I think exists right now on the Auburn Tigers. Do you remember Mason Woods, Laquan Treadwell?
That is exactly who was just popping into my head.
I think that Cam Coleman looks a lot like Laquan Treadwell. Now, Cam Coleman's not their leading receiver, but just from a physical standpoint, as far as what he brings to the wide receiver position, how he plays the wide receiver position, how he can win one-on-one matchups and win at the point of the catch, the high point of the catch. I have a lot of faith in Damani Jackson, absolutely. But I think Cam Coleman is a really, really talented player. And I think that when I was watching Laquan Treadwell, I was thinking to myself, wow, I bet you that Hugh Freeze is getting little palpitations thinking I can use Cam Coleman the exact same way as Laquan Treadwell. Cam Coleman this year has, where's my game logged right there? This year has 30 receptions for 520 yards and 7 touchdowns. Now, that's good, but the last 2 weeks, Mason Woods, 15 receptions for 228 yards and 5 of those 7 touchdowns. So my man's year is over.
Yeah, it certainly seems like they've maybe discovered something a little bit and just, hey, get this guy the ball. He can make plays. Yeah, very similar, I think, like you said, to Laquan Treadwell. That was a guy who, while he was at Ole Miss, was just a vacuum for footballs, basically. Like, he caught everything. He had a huge catch radius, was just extremely physical, went up, high-pointed everything. And, yeah, he just made contested catches time after time after time. And Cam Coleman has shown at points throughout this season, and especially the last 2 weeks, that maybe he is that type of guy. So, like you said, I do have a lot of faith in Damani. I think he is one of the more talented, probably one of the most talented cornerbacks in the SEC. But he's going to be tested, and this is going to be a real test. He's played some talented receivers this year. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't really know that many of them have been quite as physically imposing as Cam Coleman maybe is.
Yeah. But
Damani's got good length. Damani has shown us that he has, he is able to lock down great route runners. He's shown us that. Theo Weiss, Luther Burden, neither of them were very effective in that game against Alabama. Kyron Lacy was not very effective in his game, in LSU's game against Alabama. So he has shown the ability to do those things well. It's just we've yet to see him really go up against somebody, I think, this physical. So it's going to be a new challenge for him. I think he's up for it. I do think he is. Like I said, I think he's one of the most talented corners in the SEC, and I think he will continue to prove that this weekend.
All right, Mason, I really need your help for this next topic or this next portion of the Alabama-Auburn discussion on Football Friday. Look, you can all see we're not live in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios. Well, Mason is there. I am not. We want to thank Derek Daniel for sponsoring the program. Call Derek and his team, 205-758-3391 for all of your insurance needs. Mason is born and bred in the state of Alabama. I am not. I am from Chattanooga, been in Tuscaloosa, been in the States really since 2008, 2010. I have heard this thought process my entire time in Tuscaloosa, Mason. The Iron Bowl means more to Auburn because Alabama recruits more nationally and doesn't have a roster that knows what the Iron Bowl means. All these boys from California and Texas and Florida and Georgia who didn't grow up on the Iron Bowl don't know what the Iron Bowl means. Therefore, Auburn has the advantage in emotion and intensity, and it means more to the Auburn Tigers. Now, before you respond, I have always said that's a load of hooey. These guys come to Tuscaloosa, they understand what the rivalry means, they embrace it, and thus go play hard on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Am I being naive, or does it mean more to Auburn than it does to Alabama?
I don't know that I would go so far as to outright say that the rivalry means more to Auburn, because I do think that most of the players are extremely locked into this rivalry and know exactly what it means and know everything that's going on. But I definitely think there are some, probably freshmen, probably people who have maybe not played a ton this year, have maybe not been super involved with things on field, who probably don't know exactly what's happening. Because, I don't remember who. I want to say it was Najee Harris a few years ago. Somebody was asked, and I don't think when he got here he had any idea what that game was. He learned, and he played well against Auburn in the times he played them, but he couldn't have cared less. Alabama to him was just a step to the NFL, which I think for some guys it is kind of that, where it's just like they're kind of over the college rivalry thing. They're just here to go to the NFL. So I definitely think that's a very slight aspect. I don't think it's big enough to really have an outcome on the game. I don't think it's big enough to sway the whole team. I do think the most important guys on this team, the leaders, your Tyler Bookers, your Jalen Milrose, players like that, Malachi Moore, those guys know what this rivalry means, and I think they are relaying that to the rest of the team and relaying that to the people that need to be relaying it to. And also, not to mention, I was a student in Alabama. You were a student in Alabama. These are also students in Alabama. You go anywhere, all you can, you go on a tour of the campus, you go on a visit to some building somewhere. It is ingrained into, indoctrinated into you, just slight shots at Auburn here and there, here and there, here and there. They take you to the rec center and they say, oh, we have a rock wall that's taller than Auburn's. They take you to the football field. Oh, we have a scoreboard that's bigger than Auburn's. It's just so yeah, I definitely think, while it may take a little time, some of these guys maybe don't know what it means when they arrive on campus. By the end of their tenure here, I think they all know what it means.
All right, so let's use that to transition to our 3 players to watch for the week. And before we get into 3 players to watch, I want to tell you about our friends, Purple Turtle Roofing. They're the most reliable residential roof replacement company in Alabama and Mississippi. Purple Turtle Roofing. Whether it's addressing leaks, storm damage, or general wear and tear, Purple Turtle Roofing is going to be there to deliver exceptional roof repair for your property. Purple Turtle Roofing is the leading expert in local residential roofing solutions, specializing in providing unparalleled service and quality craftsmanship for all your roof replacement needs. Call Dustin Foley and his team today at 877-PT-ROOF-5 for your free roof inspection. That's 877-787-6635 to schedule your appointment, and one of their qualified employees will come check out your roof for free and make sure you're prepared for any and all of life's storms. You can check them out online today at roofturtle.com, and we want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving on behalf of Purple Turtle Roofing. So, Mason, we're getting close. We don't want to take too much of people's times on a holiday weekend. Let's get into 3 players to watch. I had a really easy time coming up with number 1. An okay time coming up with number 2, but a really, really, really challenging time nailing down my 3rd. I'm going to go ahead and go first. Or you want to go ahead and go first? It doesn't matter. Whatever you like, sir.
Your show. You can go ahead first.
All right, so number 1 was an easy choice, very obvious and easy choice to me. The number 1 player to watch this week is Justin Jefferson. Period. End of story. You lost Deontay Lawson last week, the green dot helmet communicator, and in the press box, I think we all thought Jahad Campbell was getting the green dot, but no. Justin Jefferson came off the sidelines and got the green dot, and so he has the microphone in his helmet. He's calling all the signals out to the defense. And let's be honest, he was thrown in a very challenging situation last Saturday, but the calls did not really get out on time. Now, that could be from the coaching staff into Justin Jefferson's helmet, but it also could be Justin Jefferson to the rest of the team. I think that he's the most important player on the field this week for everything that we outlined at the very beginning. Stopping Jarquez Hunter, being aware of the change-up curveball with Peyton Thorne, being able to really bottle up the running game, but more importantly, getting everyone in the same place, on the same page, in efficient fashion. If you get the call, you got to get that call back out there to the rest of the team ASAP and get everyone lined up. Because while I think that Hugh Freeze should be going slow this week, slowing everything down, that's not his nature. He is fastball, fastball, fastball. We're going to get on the line. And so I think that Justin Jefferson becomes your most important player to watch this week for the Crimson Tide.
I think that's a really good pick. Basically for every reason you just laid out there. I mean, he is crucial to the success of this defense this week, being the guy that is going to relay these calls. I'm going to stick with the defensive side, and I'm going to go with a veteran of this team, guy we just got done mentioning a little bit. I'm going to go with Malachi Moore. It's his last Iron Bowl. This is probably going to be a very emotional game for him, I would imagine. I want to see what he does in this game. He's maybe been a little quiet the last few weeks, and maybe he has a big game on Saturday. I think he will probably be in a lot of opportunities to maybe be coming up to make some tackles on Jarquez Hunter and Peyton Thorne, and maybe we see some.
I think that's a good pick. I think really you can't go wrong with any player on the Alabama defense because they all really have to play well this week. Considering, I hate this, but considering the offensive struggles from last week, you almost have to ask the defense to play perfect.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a really big challenge for Alabama this weekend. My number 2 is based on some information. I'm picking Wilkin Formby as my number 2 player to watch.
Ooh, I like it.
Because I believe, now if this turns out wrong, you can all come into my comments at Joe Gaither 6 and say, I'm a fool, and I will say, you're right, I'm a fool, and I apologize. But I believe that Wilkin Formby will be your right tackle on drive number 3. I think Elijah is going to be starting. But I think that Wilkin Formby is going to be coming into the game, drive number 2, 3, or 4. And from there, buddy, there's your shot. Northridge zone, Tuscaloosa zone. This is the biggest game. This is your shot to, look, we all heard about the spring competition that wasn't really a competition because they're moving Pritchett around so much. We knew about the fall competition that they said was neck and neck. We saw you play poorly against South Florida. That's okay. You're still young. Now the door for your position has been cracked wide open because, golly, I think 57 was the worst offensive lineman I ever seen last week. Worse than any Chris Owens performance. And so I think this week, Wilkin Formby, you can change your career. You can take control of your career with a strong performance against Auburn and basically cement yourself as a starter for the next 2 seasons.
Absolutely. Talk about a guy who definitely knows what this rivalry means. Tuscaloosa's own Wilkin Formby. Absolutely. I think if he gets the opportunity to play, which, sounds like he might, will probably be playing with a bit of a chip on his shoulder in this game. I'll stick with the offense too, and I'm going to go Josh Cuevas. I really like what he's done the last 2 weeks. He's gotten a few big catches in the last 2 games. He had a really nice catch against Oklahoma. Maybe they have found a little bit of something with him in the receiving game. And I think I got to roll with Cuevas.
That catch last week, that one-hander, oh my gosh, to get you off the goal line. Now, they didn't end up doing anything with it, but to get you off the goal line.
I really like what he does. I think he's a bit of an underrated athlete at tight end. I like him.
In that same category, you remember the pass that C.J. Dupree dropped last week? Early, I think it was in the first half, maybe.
Yeah.
Kalen DeBoer, people have been talking. People are so foolish, man. People are so foolish. He doesn't show emotion. Yeah. Okay, he ripped C.J. Dupree a new one for that drop. I think
he was fired up. He was fired up last week. If you watched it, you saw some of that fire.
Yeah, I think it's just picking and choosing when he wants to do that.
He's a very different guy than Saban was.
Yeah, of course. My number 3 was really, really hard because I had a lot of players in my brain. Okay, the three players that I couldn't decide from were Tim Keenan, Tim Smith, and Malachi Moore. I wanted to make my number three an in-state player, someone who is going to really keep the fire burning in this game throughout the entire game. And so, okay, I think that I'm going. Yeah, I think we can't pick three for your third player, Joe. That's against all the rules of the show. We're going with Justin Jefferson. We're going with Wilkin Formby, and I think I'm going to end up going. I'm going to end up going with Tim Keenan.
I like that pick.
Birmingham native, and really, I loved him going into the year, and he started the season off. I thought he started the season off very, very well, but I kind of feel like he's not really been as effective the last 5 to 6 weeks. And if he is effective up front, then that will mitigate a lot of my concerns.
I think so too. I think if he can get going in this game, if he can kind of figure out a way to get in the backfield early, figure out a way to put some pressure on Auburn's backfield and force maybe Jarquez Hunter to try to bounce around a little bit and not get going downfield, Alabama should have some success defensively. I'm going to go with Damani Jackson for my last player. We mentioned him earlier going against Cam Coleman this week, and I'm just going to ride with my guy. He hasn't let me down. Last week he didn't play bad. The issues were not with Damani last week. He didn't get his pick like I maybe had hoped he did, but that's just because Jackson Arnold only threw the ball 11 times. And I don't think many of them were targeted at Damani. I'm going to stick with my guy this week. I think he's going to ball out. Peyton Thorne is a guy that loves to throw interceptions. We have seen that. Obviously, he's played some pretty clean football the last couple of weeks, I think. But give me Damani to get a pick this week, second pick of the season.
If he is able to get a pick, that would change things tremendously in this game. Auburn has only had one turnover in the last 3 games. Them cleaning up that issue has really, put them on winning paths. So we want to finish this bad boy up. I don't want to pick the rest of the games because I don't care about the rest of the games, honestly, Mason. I don't care about Georgia Tech. I know Texas A&M is going to be a lot of fun, but our listeners and viewers probably don't care about that either. If this game were on a neutral field or if it were in Auburn, I'm just going to say it. I would pick Auburn because I agree with you. That's how. Go ahead.
No, I think you're probably about to say the exact same thing I'm going to say. It's just this team has not given me any confidence in them, really. I have no confidence in them after last week's performance. I don't really believe that they're going to be that motivated for this game. I will have to see it on the field Saturday.
That's exactly right. Like, the only reason that I'm going to end up picking Alabama is because they're at home, and you haven't lost at home all year, and you've been able to find your way through some of the rough patches at home. Exactly like Mason, I have no faith in Alabama being able to physically stand up against Auburn's running game, and it's only going to take. Look, you saw what Oklahoma did last week. It was 1 touchdown drive, period. 1 touchdown drive offensively. I mean, disrespectful to the Alabama defense. Like, the offensive performance was heinous last week. It's so heinous that I have no reason to expect it to be any different. Now, if Auburn crashes the edges really hard, I mean, look, it's the same keys from last week, Mason. I was thinking about it getting ready. I was like, I don't want to do the same 3 keys as last week, but it literally is the same 3 keys. Don't turn the football over. Win the turnover battle. Stop the quarterback run, because if Jarquez goes for 20 carries for 102 yards and a touchdown, well, that's a great day. As long as Peyton Thorne goes for 10 carries minus 2 yards, great, no big deal. Stop the quarterback run and be in 3rd and manageable offensively. Don't live in 3rd and 7. Don't live in 3rd and 10. Get into 3rd and 2 and convert those bad boys and stay on the field. It's the lamest thing in the world to make them the exact same 3 keys, but I am.
This Alabama team has given us a blueprint to beat them. There it is. It's that right there. Get the quarterback run going, crash the edges when you're on defense, and force Alabama into 3rd and longs. They do not thrive when that happens.
All right, so Mason, we want to get out of here and give everybody a chance to go shopping on Black Friday. Make sure you call Derek Daniel at State Farm, 205-758-3391. They'd love to save you some money on Black Friday. do you think, bud? You got a 11 and a half. Is that what I had? Yeah. 11 and a half. The over under doesn't really matter to us, but just for the gambler's sake is at 52 and a half. So I guess the implied line is somewhere around like 30 to 20, something in that range.
Yeah. 34-21, something like that. 33-21.
That's not happening.
No, I don't think so. I would be shocked if this Alabama offense puts up 30 points.
So so I'm going to nail you down first, and then I'll leave my prediction.
Okay, I'm going to go. Oh wait, give me 21-17 Alabama.
21-17 Alabama. I like it. I want to go with the exact same score from last year, 27-24. I don't think it will take a gravedigger type play, but I do think that
maybe a stop from the defense on the last drive.
Right, that's what I kind of think. I think Alabama's going to get ahead, going to have a nice little lead. Auburn's going to kind of cut into that lead, and it will take a defensive stop at the end to win the game. And I think that's probably what it's going to end up being. Mason, any plans with the wife for Thanksgiving?
No, we went to her parents yesterday and ate a bunch of food. We got some leftovers to munch on today, so just gonna take it easy this weekend.
We hope all of our listeners take it easy as well. Enjoy the rivalry weekend. Georgia Tech. You've got the Egg Bowl tonight. Oh, the Egg Bowl is my secret favorite rivalry, just because I think that both of those teams would stab each other with a fork. Like we would stab each other with a spoon.
With a spoon.
Yeah. Just be battling with spoons at each other. I think that is a great rivalry. So I hope you all enjoy the Egg Bowl tonight. Enjoy Alabama basketball on Saturday night, going for $1.5 million. Maybe we can set a little bit of that aside for AJ DeBanza. We'll see. We'll talk to you on Monday after Alabama's game against Auburn. Monday, we'll be all about the Iron Bowl, and then we'll get you back on basketball's track as we'll recap the Rutgers, the finale against Oregon, and get you set up for next week's game at North Carolina. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you had a fun weekend. Enjoy your family. We are so appreciative of Derek Daniel at State Farm, of Purple Turtle Roofing, of Druid City Music Hall, and all of you, the listeners and the viewers of the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither 6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.